Thanks for joining us again on the newsroom. I am Annetta Felix. The federal government has inaugurated the Governing Council of 13 federal universities. Minister of Education Adamu, who inaugurated the council members in Abuja on Monday, charged them to block loopholes and generate ideas that will increase the internally generated revenue of the universities. According to the minister, the major critical areas of challenge is inadequate funding as well as judicious use of available resources. Adamu also tasked the council to comply with the Federal Character Commission in the appointment of officers. Former acting managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC), Joy Nune, has been explaining why she slapped the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio. Speaking on Monday during an interview on Arise TV, she said she hit Akpabio when he sexually harassed her at the minister's guest house in Abuja. The former NDDC MD also accused Akpabio of trying to inflate the NDDC budget. According to her, the minister directed her to include some projects from the Refugee Commission in the budget of the NDDC. Nune and Akpabio have made allegations against each other following the activities of the Senate ad hoc panel investigating the alleged mismanagement of 40 billion naira by the Interim Management Committee of the NDDC. Suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, has been accused of failing to give a proper account of missing 332 of the 833 recovered real estate property in March 2018. In a report, the Presidential Committee on the Audits of Recovered Assets said the property Magu unaccounted for is worth billions of naira. The report said most of the recovered assets are allegedly sold without the notice of anyone and without any proper records. It also adds that it's on record that the acting chairman is maintaining different accounts, including using proxies who return the benefit of the sold assets to him. Magu is currently being probed on charges of mismanagement and lack of transparency in managing recovered assets while heading the anti-graft agency. Legal practitioner Malaki Owumaju has been reacting to the refusal of the Ondo State Chief Justice for refusing to grant the request of the lawmakers to set up a probe panel for the Deputy Governor Agbola Ajayi. Given reasons for rejecting the Assembly's request, Justice Olariwaju Akeredolu said the House had not completed the constitutional process that would make her grant the request. Speaking on TV360's flagship program, the G360, Owumaju proposed that the Nigeria Judicial Council step in to resolve the situation.
What can happen is, like I said, it could be reported to the National Judicial Council, or alternatively, they can go to court. Don't forget, she has cited that there has been a suit in this matter, yes, in respect of which there was probably, I'm not too sure, an order, a restraining order, an injunction, or whatever it is. But I'm saying, with respect to this decision that she has taken, which is very interesting, which is very novel, either party can decide to approach the court, once again, to determine what she is supposed to do in that instance, whether or not she is at liberty to decline the request made by the Speaker of the House of Assembly, knowing fully well that without the composition of that panel, mark you, it is not the members of the House of Assembly that conduct the investigation. It is a 7-man panel constituted by the judge, the chief judge of the state, that undertakes that exercise. It is the report they make to the House that becomes the oxygen, that becomes the product, the raw material with which they deliberate. And it is largely based on the recommendation and the findings of that panel. That the proceeding of that panel and the determination of that panel is what the Constitution is saying cannot be a subject of litigation.
We'll be right back after this break. Do stay with us.
Trade is a force for good. I've seen it with my own eyes. Its ability to improve millions and millions of lives. I've spent my life working with teams around the world to deliver reforms, broker agreements, improve systems, fight corruption, and empower economies. Coronavirus has changed the face of the global economy and left many countries facing difficult choices. This is a critical moment for world trade, and the WTO has a vital role to play. It's time to come together. It's time for the WTO to listen to its members, seek common ground, hunt for solutions, rebuild trust, and return to its founding mission. My name is Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and I'm the woman for this job. I want to bring a fresh pair of eyes and ears to the WTO and make it fit to thrive for the 21st century.
The Kwara State branch of the Nigerian Medical Association has advised Nigerians against visiting hospitals to minimize the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. NMA Chairman Kolade Solagbiru disclosed this while briefing newsmen on Monday in Ilori, adding that 35 doctors had so far tested positive for COVID-19 in Kwara. He however noted that the association has not recorded any casualty among its members. He also cautioned residents to disregard the belief that COVID-19 was not real and was only a money-making avenue for the government. Meanwhile, the federal government has released guidelines for the safe reopening of schools ahead of the resumption of schools at every level in the country. In a document released on Monday, the government recommended the practice of keeping a safe distance from others. It said learners are required to stay 2 meters apart. The NCDC public health guideline also required learners and children to be divided into small groups to mitigate the risk of contact. At the outbreak of COVID-19 in Nigeria, schools and all learning facilities were closed to safeguard the health of children, youth, teachers, and educational personnel. Wife of the President, Aisha Buhari, has emphasized the need to scale up advocacy towards the improvement of the nutrition situation in the country. Buhari, speaking against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, said government and stakeholders at all levels must make concerted efforts to protect children from the scourge of severe acute malnutrition, as a healthy immune system is critical at this time.
I want to remind us that malnutrition still accounts for a large number of deaths and underdevelopment among children under the age of 5 in Nigeria, and this situation is further worsened by the current pandemic. As we may be aware, proper nutrition is necessary for building the human immunity needed to combat most illnesses, including the novel coronavirus. This therefore underscores the importance of nutrition and the need for greater investment at this crucial time. I want to make a passionate plea for a deliberate inclusion of nutrition-sensitive intervention as key part of our ongoing COVID-19 response efforts. I call on government at federal and state levels to commit funds to the prevention and treatment of all forms of malnutrition and ensure that all policies and services required for treatment of malnutrition, including the community-based management of acute malnutrition centers, are functional.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has reimposed a night curfew and suspended alcohol sales on Sunday as COVID-19 infections spiked and the healthcare system risked being overwhelmed. In recent days, COVID-19 infection numbers has skyrocketed, with at least 12,000 infections recorded daily. This translates to around 500 infections every hour. South Africa is the worst affected country on the African continent, with 276,242 registered cases, including 4,079 deaths as of Sunday. Let's take a break here and we'll be right back. To stay with us.
Shegun.
Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Now beg you. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
Do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate.
This social distancing, it is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur.
According to a survey by the Central Bank of Nigeria, many Nigerians believe that rising inflation will lead to a weaker economy. The Statistics Department of the CBN disclosed this in the second quarter 2020 Inflation Attitude Survey report. According to the CBN, the survey was conducted from May 18 to 27, 2020, with a sample size of 2,070 households randomly selected from 207 enumeration areas across the country, and a response rate of 97.9%. The report said respondents believe that the economy would end up weaker if prices start to rise faster than they do now. The United Nations and the African Union have condemned the government of Mali for what they call its use of lethal force on protesters who are calling for the resignation of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. The protests, which started last month, turned violent on Friday, with police reportedly firing gunshots towards demonstrators, some of whom had occupied government buildings in the capital, Bamako. In a statement, the UN mission in Mali, the African Union, the European Union, and the West African Regional Grouping ECOWAS all criticized the Malian authorities over its handling of the protest. The protesters went to President Keïta after they want him to step down over what they describe as the failure of his government to end the long-running violence by militants linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, as well as economic crisis and the disputed legislative elections held in March. Italian football club Napoli has handed Victor Osimhen a 10-day ultimatum to decide whether or not he wants to join the club. Osimhen has been one of the most sought-after striker by big clubs in Europe, including Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, Real Madrid and FC Barcelona. However, only the Serie A Napoli have been able to put the money on the table, waiting for Osimhen's signature to switch from Lille to Naples. Napoli are only 1 foot into the next round of the 2019 to 2020 UEFA Champions League, with a return leg fixture against FC Barcelona after a 1-1 scoreline in Naples last March. And that's it on the newsroom for today. Many thanks for watching. I am Annetta Felix. Bye for now.